When we first meet Draco Malfoy, it is clear that he is arrogant, prejudiced, and constantly boasts his status to complete strangers. We see his arrogance time and time again, as well as a positively mean-spirited attitude to other students. But he wasn't all bad, at least not all of the time. Here are 5 reasons why Draco wasn't truly evil. His family influence. It's clear that Draco was hugely shaped and influenced by those around him, but particularly his parents. My father will hear about this. Malfoy was ultimately shaped by his father's views and ideology. Unfortunately for Draco, Lucius Malfoy happened to have some pretty awful views and ideologies about the world around him, which clearly rubbed off onto his son. It's no secret that Lucius believed that half-blood and muggle-born wizards were inferior to purebloods, and that they should be eradicated, something that he no doubt drilled into his son. His rivalry with Harry. It's easy to forget that at one point Draco actually wanted to be friends with Harry. Harry, of course, rebuffed his slightly aggressive offer of friendship, choosing 2 people Draco would never befriend instead: the poor but ultimately happy Ron Weasley, and the muggle-born Hermione Granger. It is logical that the Malfoy family had wondered if the reason Harry was able to survive the killing curse all those years ago in Godric's Hollow was perhaps because he was also a powerful dark wizard. So it makes sense that Draco would have wanted to befriend the great and powerful Harry Potter. Their rivalry was set from that moment on, but it was made worse by Draco's parents' efforts to openly encourage it. When Harry became the youngest Seeker on the Gryffindor Quidditch team, Lucius bought the whole Slytherin team new brooms in return for Draco being made Seeker. It's as if whatever Harry did, Lucius hoped that Draco could do it better. His true character. We started to understand Draco's true character when he was tasked with killing Dumbledore. The boy who usually carried himself with such bravado began to unravel, and he never quite managed to perform his mission. You could see the great internal struggle that Draco had to endure. It was clear that he was uncomfortable with the task and only felt that he needed to do so under the threat of death. After all, it may have been advertised to Draco as a great honor, but on closer inspection, it looked very much like punishment for his father's failures. He could hardly have said no to the Dark Lord. Are you kidding? But despite the careful facade, a motivation of Draco's that we would see time and again throughout his character's development. You couldn't help but feel a little bit sorry for Draco by this point. He was, in all honesty, in far too deep, and there was nothing he could do to get out of it. He chose to save Harry's life. When Harry, Ron, and Hermione were caught by the Snatchers in the Deathly Hallows and taken to Malfoy Manor, the Malfoys were excited beyond belief their chance had come, yet again, to impress the Dark Lord. But as we know, the stinging hex from Hermione had disfigured Harry's face. When Draco was called to identify him, this would have been the ideal opportunity for Draco to finally get revenge once and for all on the person he had bickered with for years, but instead he hesitated. Now, if Draco was truly evil, would he have hesitated? I think not. He could have been afraid of being wrong, but it also seemed like he didn't want any part of what would happen next. He couldn't seem to bring himself to even look at Harry properly. This was a major moment for Draco. Who would have ever thought that Draco Malfoy would be the one to save Harry Potter from Lord Voldemort? He was essentially a good person with a terrible personality. There's no argument that Draco wasn't the nicest person we've ever come across in the Harry Potter series or anywhere else for that matter. Let's be honest. He was narrow-minded and could certainly act like a git. Remember how he treated Hermione? That was just completely inexcusable. Now, whilst Draco did join the Death Eaters, his heart wasn't truly in it. Despite years of molding from his father, there was just something else inside him that didn't want that life. It was clear that Draco had an internal struggle with his life as a Death Eater and felt as though he had been forced into it. Whether that be because of his family or out of fear. Draco did a lot of terrible things throughout the series, and whilst we're not saying he was good, he certainly wasn't evil either. His path to redemption was meandering and trying. Much like his head of house, Draco learnt from his mistakes. If anything, Draco was just misunderstood after having a terrible upbringing.